Welcome back, everybody, to the Esports Inquirer podcast. My name is Joseph, and I am joined here today by TJ, as usual. TJ, how you doing this week?
Doing good. Great weekend. Glad to be here for another Monday. Yep.
Yeah, it was a pretty sick weekend for esports. It was dominated by two events in particular. We're going to talk about that for most of this episode, but before we get started, have you been picking up anything new? Anything you've been messing around with, labbing and fighting games, or playing any new games?
I actually just it's funny, on Friday I picked up Under Night Ember
Mm.
2, which is an anime fighter, just out of boredom to fool around with. Yeah, but other than
Yeah.
that, no, just been enjoying Street Fighter, enjoying Tekken. Yeah.
I have a feeling almost every Monday we're going to get the same answer here, which is going to be, yeah, I just picked up this new anime fighter just for fun. I was getting bored of being top 100 on on all the other ones, so I decided
Yeah.
to pick up something new this week. That's kind of like your
No,
motif.
I mean, I tried searching for a match and nobody was online, so I'm gonna have to look into like some discords or something to find some practice.
What are you playing on? Xbox, PlayStation, or
This is
PC?
PlayStation,
Okay, on
PlayStation.
PlayStation. Gotcha. Is the community for fighting games biggest on PlayStation?
Uh, yeah, I think so. Nowadays, it's more on PlayStation, except for Tekken. Tekken's one of those that's has a bigger community on PC actually.
Oh, is that new
Yeah,
with
yeah.
Tekken 8 or was Tekken 7
On
like that
seven,
too?
it's always been like that.
Wow.
Especially overseas, they tend to play more on PC.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, I mean, thank goodness you do pick up a new fighting game every week because there's going to be a lot to talk about for this
Yep,
week
yep.
with EVO just having passed. So I'm still horribly addicted to that new Korean looter shooter from Nexon.
Oh
First
yeah.
Descendant is just it's a time killer for me. I'm trying to get through these summer classes that I'm doing and stuff, and First Descendant is just like stealing my attention away. It's been, oh my goodness, I've been obsessed. But yeah,
Yeah.
so far that's going well. I got a third character in the game now, which is
Okay.
pretty cool. She's like an acid like poison type of character. Her name's Freyna.
Okay.
That's been pretty fun, but still no esports over there yet, so that's just a pastime for me right now.
Developing, yep.
Yeah, but back to the absolute classic esport that came right after Halo, obviously, and StarCraft, which is Call of Duty. Call of Duty's been around for a very long time. The Call of Duty League Championship just passed. It was this past weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And honestly, one of the greatest esports events I've ever seen put on. Back in, man, I don't want to butcher this date, but I want to say it was somewhere from 2017 or 18 when Cloud9 won the Counter Strike Major in Boston, in America, an
Okay.
American team won. I mean, the pop for that win was like I've almost never seen anything like it in esports. The entire event for Call of Duty was that way, and Call of Duty is mostly centralized around North America. For anybody who follows Call of Duty, you know that most of these players are American, just about. There are European players in the mix, but most of these players hail from America, and almost all of the teams are based in America as well. So, for Optic Gaming to be in the grand finals in their home state of Texas, the Texas Optic is what they're called in the Call of Duty League. It was really awesome to see the way that the crowd came out. They weren't, the team wasn't even representing an entire country. The team was just representing one state, or maybe you could say region there in the Midwest South. But I mean, it was a crazy pop the entire time from beginning to end. There was just when the team came out for grand finals and before the current players came out, it was the legacy team with Scump and with oh my goodness, Formal as well. When those four came out first and then made way for the four new members of the team. Now I believe two of them are two-time world champions, and then two of them have just won their first championship. It was really really cool to see them come out that way in their home state. They were able to set up the event to really tailor to that team. It was just the energy there was amazing. The like godfather of casting. Puckett was the head analyst on the desk, was the host for the show. It was really, really great all around. That event was crazy. So Optic Texas did win as well, as you can tell by the way that I'm prefacing
Yeah.
everything, the excitement, the energy. If they didn't win, that would be a really disappointing ending. The energy would be a lot different. I mean, man, they were booing. Like, it wasn't just cheering for Optic. They were booing the New York Subliners in the grand finals when they walked out. Every time they showed them on camera, it was just booze the entire time. And being a New Yorker myself, it hurt a little bit to see, but I can't say I expected anything else, honestly. So, yeah, those fans down there. I mean, whether it's Halo, whether it's Call of Duty, even back in the Gears of War day, I remember Texas fans being really just having a lot of energy. The fans down there are big into esports, and I think Optic can take all the credit for that, honestly. I think they built that community. The amount of work, effort, money, just everything that they've put into building an esports scene in the South. I'm so impressed by them, and I'm really happy that they're there to do it. It's been like a hub center for just so much esports to be built over the last decade. So Optic Texas are the Call of Duty champions for 2024. New York Subliners were the runner-up. A lot of great showings out there. Los Angeles came out. Both teams, I mean, made a good showing, but Los Angeles Thieves made a really good. I gotta go back and check and make sure I got that name right. That's the red one is the Thieves, and purple is the Gorillas. But and then FaZe as well had a really good showing. Atlanta FaZe. So didn't get to see that classic Optic FaZe matchup, but that's okay because Optic versus New York was fantastic. Optic and New York actually went against each other in the winners finals before, so in the top three when they were still in the winners bracket, and Optic only won that one 3-2. But when it came to grand finals, Texas Optic, or Optic Texas, I think they call it. I've been saying Texas Optic, but I believe it's Optic Texas is what they say. They won 5-1, so a much more heavy-handed victory. Honestly, you gotta feel like that crowd just like screaming the entire time. Every single time they got a kill on one of the New York players, it was like just the whole stadium erupted. So you have to feel like that had something to do with it in there. Simp took MVP for the season, and Gwyn took Rookie of the Year. So that is Simp from. Oh man, I'm almost blanking here. I want to say that's from Simp from FaZe and Gwyn from North Carolina. Or Carolina. I don't know if they say North Carolina or just Carolina, but Gwyn from Carolina took home Rookie of the Year. They're not one of the top teams, but he was a super standout player on that team, and this was his rookie year. He's coming up off of challengers, off of the tier 2, actually a championship in tier 2 last season. So he took the win there, and then this season had his first season in the CDL, in the Call of Duty League, and had a great season. Took Rookie of the Year. I think a lot of teams are going to have their eyes on him. For anybody that's opening slots in their team going into next season, I think he's going to be one of those players that moves up and fills one of the higher teams because he had a great showing. So yeah, then the only other accolade given out was Shotzi from Optic Texas, who won COD Champs MVP, so MVP of the tournament. Whereas Simp MVP, that was his. He took the regular season MVP. That was his award. So two different ones that they give out. Usually regular season MVP is like considered to be a higher accolade. I think people pay a little bit more attention to it. But Champs MVP is no joke. Being the MVP of the championship tournament for the season is still a big deal. It'll still be mentioned plenty. So a lot of things handed out at Optic Texas hosting the Call of Duty League, and they took home $800,000 because of it. So really paid off for them. Hosting the event was well worth it, I think. I think they hopefully got their return on it. I have a feeling Call of Duty League chipped in plenty to set up the event there as well. So really great for Optic Texas, as if they needed another trophy in their trophy case, honestly. They've got so many already, but yeah, they showed up fantastic. I definitely have some, despite the fact that they beat New York, I really do have some favorite players, I think, over on the Optic side now. It was a fantastic tournament, great event, and I think I would have put more time, honestly, into watching Call of Duty League next season, because it's not just the atmosphere and not just the community, but the professionalism, the production. They make it feel like going back to those MLG days when you could trust production to be consistent, when it was like something that could be televised and nobody would be able to tell the difference between that and another live televised sporting event. The quality of production makes it so engaging. So I'm really excited to go into the 2025 season of the CDL and pay a lot more attention to it. I think a lot of people should. Anybody who's into first-person shooters, I think, should start looking at Call of Duty League. Black Ops 6 is coming up, and it looks pretty promising. Have you seen anything, TJ, about Black Ops 6 yet?
Well, I know a lot of people are excited for it, but not really. I heard they're going back to an older style of shooter. But inform me, please.
Yeah, I think Black Ops 6, they're gonna probably take it back to the Black Ops that people liked. That's what it was looking like, the Black Ops 2 kind of thing. I wouldn't say 1, not quite that standard.
Right.
But Black Ops 2, where you have some advanced tools and some fun stuff to mess around with, but the shooting aspect of it is still kind of grounded, and it's more standard, I guess is what you would say.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I mean the campaign looks really cool as well. It's like an espionage White House dude on a motorcycle, like Terminator era kind of action movie. So it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited to play through the story when it goes to Game Pass on Xbox. And then I want to learn the maps on multiplayer so I could follow Call of Duty League next year. That's the tricky thing about Call of Duty as an esport, though, is every year the game changes. They release a different game for their franchise every single year. So the players have to learn something new, which means to be consistent, you have to be good at several different styles of a shooter, because there will be changes that are made. I think through the last few years, Modern Warfare 3, Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops Cold War, I think they all have a similar feel. So people have been able to be consistent even when the game changes. And I think it'll probably be fine for this next one as well. Black Ops 6. I can't even believe I'm saying that. Black Ops 6 is coming out. I remember getting Black Ops. I remember questioning if I would even be able to get Black Ops when I was younger, because I had Modern Warfare 2. But I think at that point I won't say my parents, my mother in particular was at a point where she was like, should I have bought that for him? And should I buy him another one? Now, mind you, I wasn't like 6 years old when this game came out either. I was like,
that was about the time they were like investigating like at first person shooter games. You remember? They were
Yep.
showing violence in kids, and everybody was asking questions. Yeah.
The one of many times that they brought that to the attention of our government for some reason.
Yeah. And more importantly, our parents.
I know, our parents was the worst part. Yeah, because all they watch is the news. So as soon as you bring a trial about video games to the government, they're gonna pay attention. We got to keep that far away. We got to make sure these just make sure these kids don't get desensitized. I think for the most part, I think kids know the difference. There's definitely something to be said about not teaching people correctly the difference between a video game and real life, but I think for the most part it's pretty recognizable. Now I don't know, because when we were growing up, people's faces didn't look like faces, right? They looked like polygons. So
that's true.
Maybe nowadays that's different. Maybe you can't say the same because it almost looks like you're playing war footage. I don't know. But, oh my goodness, what's that one game? Is it just called Body Cam? There's a game on Steam that's like hyper realistic body cam footage, and you play from the perspective of like some sort of SWAT agent or something like that.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, that one I understood. I believe in Europe they had a dispute, and I don't know what the outcome is. It might be something that we have to follow up on next week. Despite it not being necessarily esports focused, it does still have to do with shooters and what we're talking about on this tangent that we're off on. I think in Europe they did have something about the game either having to be changed or not released in full concept because it was hard to distinguish whether it was real or not. So we'll follow up on that because I can't
Yeah.
remember what the outcome of that was. But yeah, I mean it was bound to happen sooner or later. What's going to be funny is if in 15 years we look back and we go, oh, that game didn't look real at all.
Oh yeah.
Have you seen Unreal
It
Engine
always is
9?
like that.
Yeah, it's like yeah, I scanned my face into this new video game in Unreal Engine 9, and I now can just play as me. That game looked nothing like real life. So yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, enough with that tangent. Call of Duty, great job. Call of Duty World Championship. For anybody who's into first person shooters or looking to get into it, Call of Duty is probably a great segue game to get yourself into that scene. And like I said, because of the production value in particular, I think it's easy to get locked in on. You don't have to question, oh, where do I look for the main event stream, or where's the like B stream for this other thing? It can get difficult with some esports to know what you're supposed to be paying attention to. And Call of Duty League is a very standard franchised league. Franchising in esports is something that's you kind of have to weigh the scales. It doesn't open up as many people to get into the highest level of play, but it does bring more money into the esport and grow the community from the top and the middle and even at the bottom a little bit. So you kind of have to weigh your options and decide what you want your esport to be like. And Call of Duty League has chosen to invest a lot of money in, and they've gotten their returns. So I'm really happy that it was able to stick around. There was a little bit of a scare following the Overwatch League dissolving because of the Microsoft acquisition of Activision Blizzard. So I think a lot of people were scared for Call of Duty League as well, but I think Call of Duty is a game and an esport that you're just not going to be able to kill. I wish I could say that about Overwatch. I mean, TJ, you and I, after years, reconnected because of that game through a mutual friend, Frosty Ham Granny Forever. But yeah, that was, I mean, Overwatch is a game we connected through. We played that for a couple of years on PlayStation, I think is what we were playing it on.
Oh yeah.
We played a lot of 3v3s back in
We
the
did.
day.
We did. Those are good times. I know there's a lot of scare around the Overwatch League, but I saw you guys, they just dropped a new character, announced a new character like over the
Yes.
weekend.
Yeah, Juno, a very, very cool character, takes the aspect of Ana, the healing and damaging kind of thing, where you shoot a bullet and depending on who it hits, that's what it does. It's like a little tiny ray gun, like a little space ray gun.
Okay.
And depending on who you shoot, it'll either heal your teammate or do damage to the enemy. She looks like she's going to be a lot of fun. Regrettably, I didn't get to play her during the free play days over the weekend.
Oh wow, yeah.
So hopefully for those of you who did play her over the weekend, let us know what you think of the character. And if you follow Overwatch Esports, the Overwatch Championship Series, let us know how you think it's going to impact that, because every time there's a new introduction of a character, it shakes things up pretty greatly. I think the most recent character to come in didn't shake things up as much. I think it was a really smooth introduction. Things just kind of went the right way. Everybody was like, this is a viable DPS, but not necessary to be like meta. But for many before that, I can't think of one that wasn't like meta defining and changing. So yeah, I do think I think Juno for a little while is going to be a standard character in the meta, because I think people have to figure out how to counter her like abilities first. I think she's got a little bit more to her kit than people can figure out right away. So I think it'll take a couple of professional games. One of these big brain coaches will come out and find a counter strat, and then maybe Juno will just slot into a specific type of composition and not be the basis for every meta composition going forward.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. Yeah, good way to actually get ourselves into. I don't know that we really had Overwatch on the docket, so nice that we got a little bit of that in. I
got to touch on it.
Yeah, I am curious what people think about the new character. That's always the most interesting thing in character-based, class-based games.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really fun to see what people come up with. It lets people get creative, and that's where coaches get to shine too. A coach for Call of Duty, you'll never really know what their impact is by watching a game. But when a team in Overwatch comes out with a composition you've never seen before, you start looking up who the coach of the team is, because you're starting to notice trends and it's something you want to look out for going forward. So class-based shooters definitely give coaches some spotlight, and that's nice to see. But there is one game there's an entire class of games where it's only a single player going head to head against another player, which makes things that much more personal when you lose. And that's fighting
Mm-hmm.
games, which is something that you know
Oh
very,
yeah.
very well. In a shooter game, it's obviously lag is the reason that you died.
Yeah.
In strategy games, it's obviously just because the other guy used cheese. But in a fighting games, it's obviously just because the game sucks. So
Oh
nothing
yeah,
you
yeah.
could really say about that.
Well, there is a fair bit of cheese, but not at the level we're looking at here.
Oh,
So,
almost
yeah.
impossible. But Evo, huge weekend for fighting games. It all went down in Las Vegas. We had in Street Fighter 6, we had Punk taking gold. In Tekken 8, Arlen Ash, who would have guessed. In Mortal Kombat 1, Sonic Fox, that's another given. And then we had in Guilty Gear, Nitro took the win. Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, which I found out is a video game. Uh, Aaron Damek took the gold in that. Street Fighter Third Strike, it was MOV. Under Night in Birth 2 was Senaru, Japanese player, which I think it was
Hmm.
their only gold in. I want to say it was their only gold at this event at the North
Yeah,
American
yeah.
Evo, and then it was King of Fighters 15 Zhao Hai, only Chinese player to take a gold at Evo this year. So
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna hand it over to you, TJ, because you know much more about this scene than I do. So what was Evo like this
Sure.
year? How'd it go?
Sure. One of the biggest years actually historically, entrance wise for this. This is probably the biggest Evo since COVID actually.
Okay.
Um, following up off of that, King of Fighters, they're known for a big South American scene, so they always go back and forth. And as you can see in the bracket, we got a lot of people from Mexico, a lot of competitors from all over, and that's just a legacy game that always brings back some good competition. Moving on to Street Fighter, though, this was a great set, great tournament, biggest Street Fighter tournament ever.
Wow.
We had Punk the God taking first over Big Bird, which was last year's
Yeah.
champion. So it was a really exciting grand finals. It went bracket reset. Big Bird reset the bracket, went all the way down to game five. And it was Cammy versus Rashid, two explosive characters. Couldn't have asked for a better grand finals there. And over on the Tekken side, we've got Arslan Ash taking first, and he's last year's Evo champion, and he's just continuing with the consistency, like continuing being great. And I was talking to Joseph before we started about the fact that there's only 3 Pakistani players, and out of 3,000 entrants,
Yeah.
and they all made top six, which is
That's
just
insane.
yeah, it just shows that that region is super strong. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it is a very tight knit group. They don't get a ton of representatives out there, but they make use of what
they
they've
do.
got.
Yeah,
They have some seriously talented players.
yeah. For some people, this is a livelihood. They just eat, sleep, and breathe Tekken. So it's cool to see that happen.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so Mortal Kombat 1, I don't think it's any. I think Tekken 8 and Mortal Kombat 1, it's no surprise who took the win there. Street Fighter, it was really cool to see Punk take the win over Big Bird. I think we talked about it last week. This was Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat all debuted their newest game for EVO for the first time. Um,
Oh yeah.
so that's really
It
huge.
it was nice. Yeah, they had this was bigger. I think this was an instant classic for Street Fighter, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But Mortal Kombat, yeah, as you said, Sonic Fox took that,
Yeah.
and it was just a dominating fashion. And it's funny. He made a tweet. He showed his haircut and shit. It was like lined up, looking messy. So he was like, "This is the reason I won." He was locked in all. Yeah.
That's great. I
Uh,
mean, that guy out of the last like 5 or 6 Evos, how many has he won? Is it just all of them? Has he ever lost one?
that's a good question. I'd have to look into that, but it's for sure he has won a lot, and it's
Uh,
mostly the 2D fighters. He's just a
mhm.
natural at these type of games. Like couple of years ago it was Dragon Ball Fighters. He was a
Yes.
champion of, and yeah, he's just got the knack for fighting games.
He is insanely
Uh,
talented, man. It's scary. It's on the same level as Arlen Ash. I mean, as somebody who obviously is not nearly into fighting games at the same level that you are, even I know Arlen Ash. That dude
yeah.
is a menace at Tekken. It's
Oh
I
yeah.
can't believe that there are probably more. How do I want to phrase this? In the highest echelon of esports, fighting
Oh yeah.
games probably give you the greatest opportunity to actually make it up to that level because it's your individual skill. So
Oh yeah.
it becomes
It,
so hard to be consistent because every year you're going to have this new flock of prodigy players coming in with different strategies. Different games will come out, different
yeah.
players will become meta. For these players that are at the top that are consistently winning, these people were born to do this. I don't think
Yeah.
science can tell us what the
I,
psychology is quite like yet, but I hope
I
I live
agree, man.
long enough to find out because I'm really
No,
want to
yeah.
know how you become just like a god amongst men in a classification like this.
And I know it's insane, and these guys have been doing it for so long. And speaking of consistency, I wanted to show we had Leffen, which is former Smash Melee Pro, and he also plays top 8 in the Guilty Gear bracket
Wow.
for this weekend. I think he won it last year, which is crazy. He's multi-talented across a couple games. He was also a top competitor in Dragon Ball Fighters a couple years back. So
Mm-hmm.
Leffen's been making some waves, but the community doesn't have the highest opinion of him. He
Yeah.
has some controversial takes, but
Yeah, he's definitely a
yeah,
controversial. I mean, going to him without saying anything, because without meeting somebody, I never want to cast actual judgment on them.
yeah,
There's things that he says, right, and it could be you never know if it's a stream personality thing. You never know if the person he's talking to is maybe super aggravating off camera, and you just have no idea, and he just loses it with them because of that.
oh
I've
yeah,
seen clips of Leffen where he gets angry at people and I agree with him, and I've seen clips of Leffen where he gets angry at people and it hurts to watch a little bit.
yeah.
So there's definitely two sides of the
I
coin. But you absolutely cannot say, and I don't think anybody ever will, that he's not one of the greatest fighting game players of all time
oh yeah,
because he's multi-talented. He takes the time to learn systems in different games. I know he's trashed on games before, and that's controversial. He said that Mortal Kombat, like, he basically tries to illegitimize a couple of games that
oh
he
yeah,
doesn't think are, and he has his right to that opinion. But at the same time, you can also understand why people that enjoy those games would not like him disregarding those as legitimate fighting games.
yeah.
So it clearly controversial, but at least he's saying something. There are some people in the fighting scene that just sit around and wait for it to die. So at least he's saying
It's
something,
true.
I
It's
guess.
true.
He'd rather, yeah, die the villain than die nobody, I suppose.
Yeah, he
So,
does. He's been known to push his region. I know even in Melee,
yeah.
since he's from the EU, Sweden, he
Yep.
doesn't get a lot of much practice partners. So he's been pushing as an international talent. He's got that drive for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. It was really cool to
Hmm.
see him follow up Armada in that scene as well.
Oh yeah,
It was kind of cool to see Armada was kind of, he still won stuff, but he was phasing himself out of his career, and Leffen was coming up into the big time. They were around together for a while. There's plenty of times you can watch them play each other, but yeah, it was interesting to see that phase out. I definitely think Armada being a fan favorite, I think maybe people don't want to think about it as being a replacement because I don't think everybody
yeah,
wants to put them in the same like spot of like
not at all.
beloved like professional big brain player. But yeah, in terms of where they come from, the scene, there's documentaries out there about how small the European Smash Bros scene is and how hard people have to work to make it out of there. So
Yeah,
super impressive that not only was he able to get to this level in multiple fighting games, but he did it coming from a place where he had nobody to work with. He
yeah,
just did it. He said, "Fine,
crazy.
I'll do it myself. I'll
Yeah,
play my." I'll
that's
set. Yeah.
most impressive part. Yeah,
It really is.
yeah,
So yeah, honestly, I mean, props to him. Props to Punk, Arlen Ash, Nitro, Aaron Demack, MOV, Sonaru, Sonic Fox, Xiao Hai, all taking home wins. Evo looked awesome this year. One of the guys that I do casting with actually was there this year. He's
Oh
pretty
wow,
big into fighting games, so he went out there this year, and I'm gonna assume he had a great time, but I'll
that's
find out
cool.
pretty
Yeah,
soon. We'll have to get you out there sometime, TJ. Go
I
talk
know.
to
No,
some
I'll
of these
start
guys.
saving for next year for
Yeah,
sure. Yeah.
fighting games will be a really, I think it'll be a really easy environment to get interviews with players because you have 3,000 people just walking around to setups, like trying to play each other.
Yeah.
So it's really easy to just catch people at their lunch break. There's no like backstage area for just 8
It's all
teams or
open
something.
there.
It's
Yeah.
all open, which is really cool.
Speaking of just open and open, we had one of the streamers. I don't know if you're familiar with Lily Pichu,
Yes.
but she got a chance to play Harada, which is the creator of Tekken, in a set
Uh,
in pools actually, which was really crazy.
that is
I'm sure
crazy.
we can link the VOD below, but
Absolutely, we should.
it was insane. He ended up taking it over him
She
in a
ended up taking
pretty
it over him.
yeah. He ended up taking it over him in
Wow.
pools, and it was funny. He said something. He's like, "I quit this game," and he's like the creator. He's like, he's done.
That's
But
awesome.
yeah, that was
That's
funny.
so good. Wow, that's so cool. Lily Pichu beat the creator of Tekken in Tekken.
Yeah.
She's like, this isn't even my
Uh-huh.
job. This is I don't even do this. This is your job. This is your entire life's work, and this is something I do like an hour a week.
Yeah, it's actually funny. The creator plays the same character I do, which is Fang. So while
Okay.
Twitter was up in jokes, they were just like, "Yeah, he's gutting this character next. He's buffing the hell out of this one next time." So,
That's really
well,
funny.
it's funny. Yeah.
That's the creator of Tekken 8 played in EVO Tekken 8 tournament. That's awesome. That there's no
Yeah.
rule against that. If you develop the
No.
game, you are still allowed to play. That's awesome. That's
Hmm.
really cool. Yeah, EVO is a great play, man. The fighting game community has in at the lower levels has so much happening all the time that keeps people like at an arm's length away from it. And then Evo comes around and everyone's like, "Oh, maybe the fighting game scene is the coolest thing of all
Yeah.
time."
Yeah.
Because Evo is so well put together for a community that sorry fighting game community, I'm sure this isn't all of you, but you guys have a lot of stuff going on. You guys
Oh
have a
yeah.
lot of because it's individuals. There's no franchising. There's no background checking. It's just people showing up to events, and they could be anybody. So some absolute
Right.
freakazoids show up sometimes, get their Twitter DMs leaked, and then you realize it's
Yeah.
horrible people in the blank game scene. Uh, so
Yeah, they all just have that drive to get better, that drive to learn. I think that's the biggest draw to the community is just that share of knowledge and share of growth to improve. So
yeah,
it's always cool to see these events happen.
there is so much intensity in fighting game competitions. But I will say, I think Evo, even though it is the most prestigious fighting game tournament in the world, I think it might not be the most stressful atmosphere. I think
Oh,
Evo has an atmosphere of fun around it that events like I'm trying to think. I really only know like Smash and stuff, but like Genesis and
yeah.
these like very specific events that are just like points, big points along the road where people are trying to earn spots and like big
Oh yeah.
events. I think those events people feel more pressure on them because everyone's just coming to watch and find out who wins and see the most badass action. When it comes to
Yeah.
Evo, that's like a celebration. It's a tournament and it's the biggest tournament, but it's also a celebration.
Yeah, people are just happy to be there. It's funny because in Street Fighter 6 Grand Finals, both of them, Punk and Big Bird, were up on the stage. They're taking sets off of each other, and the camera's cutting back to them, and they're just smiling. These guys are having the time of their lives. Like, oh man, I can't believe you just went for that. Like, I'm gonna get you next game. Like, it's a fun experience.
Yeah, that's so good on them, man. I mean, two huge events that went on this weekend, and both of them knocked it out of the park. Obviously, we love seeing esports do well. Evo, you're saying biggest fighting game tournament ever, biggest
Yeah.
Street Fighter tournament ever.
Of the most entrants for Street Fighter, Tekken. So yeah, it was just
Whew.
big all around.
That's awesome. And then
Yeah.
getting to feature Guilty Gear. I think Guilty Gear is going to be a mainstay, man. I mean, I know it is for a little while now. It's part of, but it's really
Yeah.
cool to see in America. All we've really known is Street Fighter, Tekken, Mortal Kombat. If you play anything else, it's because you hang up posters of like anime. So it's
No, I want to tell you something about. I know you're a fan of Cyberpunk. So
oh yeah.
speaking of anime women, they just announced the DLC. They're adding Lucy to Guilty Gear
Are you
in
serious?
this next season. Yeah, so serious. It came out of left field. So she'll be a guest character for the next season of Guilty Gear. It's gonna be exciting.
TJ, you don't understand. I am
Yeah.
going to play that game now. I
Yeah.
can't stand fighting games because you always kick my ass in them. I'm going to play this game.
Well, I'm not that good at Guilty Gear, so I'll learn with. I'll play with you.
Yeah. Oh, I'm not that good in Guilty Gear. That means I might hit him once. I'm not that good in Guilty Gear. I couldn't even crack top 100, man. I'm not even that good. Dude,
No,
like,
Lucy's gonna do it for you. I know, it's just the waifu power. Yeah, you
we'll
got
see.
it.
She, I mean, I loved that show so much, and I'm not.
Yeah.
I've dabbled in anime. I've texted you before and said when I'm getting into an anime, I'll be like, hey, I'm trying this out. I'm gonna see if I like this. 9 out of 10 times I quit on episode 4 or something, but sometimes I find
That's
something
true.
I really like. For me, it's more movies. I think anime movies are
Yeah.
cool to me, but anime shows I can't really get into, which is, to go on a slight tangent here, it's very funny being in a Japanese class progression right now. Everybody always, like, it's one of the first questions that other students will ask you is like, what anime do you like? And I'm like, dude, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm afraid I'm gonna say something they're gonna be like, that's awful. So I'm like, I don't really do anime that much. And they're like, why are you in this class? And I'm like, there's like a whole country of people that speak this language, right? It's not just like Lord of the Rings language or like the Star Trek language. Like, this is a real thing. People do speak this, millions of people around the world. So it's really funny to hear that. I'm like, I'm not into anime, but there's a lot of reasons to still want to learn Japanese. Yeah, it's but then also I don't want to tell them it's because, oh, well, actually, it's because I'm into esports. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?
Right.
But no, it's really, really cool that Lucy is being added to Street Fighter. That's wild. I'm actually going to play that game now.
Yeah.
I'm going to come back a changed man. I'm going to be like, man, I don't know anything about first-person shooters anymore, but I could be the rundown on every fighting game now. Lucy's going to bring me around.
Yeah.
Just because of a cyberpunk tying character. I really do like cyberpunk. That is a great franchise.
Yeah, good info. Yeah.
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, I think that's all for this week. That's all we really wanted to cover. There's some stuff still coming up. A lot of what's happening right now, I think a lot of things are on pause at the moment. There's some gaps in schedules because of the Esports World Cup. So let me pull up my information here. I'm going to see what's going on in the Esports World Cup that we should be paying attention to. They have been going week by week and kind of swapping out the games that have been going. I guess we should get a rundown on who's doing well so far, get a rankings update because we started with that last week. Nope, never mind. It is there have been no progress made yet, so that means no games have finished up. So it looks like the schedule right now is that we've got PUBG Mobile. It looks like is going to be played tomorrow. Survival stage, it looks like that is. So PUBG Mobile going on right now. Starting week 4 Wednesday. We're going to see Mobile Legends Bang Bang, the women's tournament. Then there is Overwatch 2 group stage, also starts in 2 days. Very interesting. Okay. 2 days until the Overwatch 2 group stage. That's pretty awesome. So that is what's going to be going on right now, it looks like. As I go down the schedule, that's what we've got. So it's the PUBG Mobile World Cup, the Mobile Legends Bang Bang Women Tournament group stage is happening, and then the Overwatch 2 group stage is going to start as well. It's going to be interesting for Overwatch 2, I think, because just like every esport in the Esports World Cup right now, they haven't pulled every team's attention. Not everybody decided to sign up. Not everybody decided to franchise a team. So there are some names that aren't as recognizable participating in this tournament, and a few really big names that are going to be participating. I think this is I'm going to go with unopinionated input here, just an observation, because I don't think I've formed an opinion on this yet. I'm not like leaving my opinion out. I really don't think I've formed an opinion on this yet. This is just an observation I'm making. Saudi Arabia obviously putting a lot of money into building their esports scene. They want to be the esports hub of the world. They see it as the future of gaming. That's really cool that they're investing into it like that. I think that the Esports World Cup and the Saudi E-League are showing that not everyone is willing to buy in. And I think that that all of the organizations, the Saudi Arabian organizations, including the government, I mean, I know Qatar is trying to do it, Saudi Arabia is trying, United Arab Emirates, they're all working on it right now in the Middle Eastern region of the world, honestly, just up and down. They're all trying to find a place where they can invest in like the future of entertainment, of competitive entertainment. Sports, always going to be around. It's fantastic, but not everybody is built to be an athlete. So esports is more relatable, I think, for everyone, if I'm being honest with you. Sports is very relatable because people grow up playing them, but eventually there's a divide. Some people are athletic enough and have the body type and the endurance and the stamina to take on professional sports, and some people end up, 5'4", and there's nothing wrong with it, but you're probably not going to be playing basketball with LeBron James. So unfortunately, that's just the way the cookie crumbles. And I think esports, there are small people, tall people, there are people with long hair, people that are bald. There, everybody can get into esports, no matter how you're built, no matter where you come from, what region of the world. That might be a lie. Esports does require some technological ingenuity, so maybe not quite anywhere in the world, but we're gonna get to a point where this technology is more accessible sooner rather than later. And we're already seeing it quite a bit, honestly. A lot of people have this technology. Smartphones are in the hands of, even like, not to use any kind of terminology here, but no matter where you go, there are people using smartphones, computerized technology everywhere you go, no matter what part of the world. So it's very clear. The one thing that I love to tell, a little anecdote here, is that when I was in the Philippines, actually I think it was the Mobile Legends Bang Bang World Championship was happening in Manila while we were there. But I was with a Filipino family while we were there, so we weren't just in the city. We also went out to a lot of islands where there's just, societies that completely segregate from each other. They're just like, well, I live on this island and I have nothing to do with the guy on the other island. Like, I don't know what they do over there. They might have different ways of doing things. The most interesting thing to me was seeing people with Android phones, or I guess you could say anything that's not an iPhone, right? Is an Android, basically. So Android phones, playing Mobile Legends Bang Bang. They absolutely love it over there. It's awesome. I love to see it. They love Mobile Legends over there. And they will buy like 2 hours of internet at the local outdoor shop. It's just like, a shack that's probably like 25 feet long and 10 feet wide, or 10 feet, 10 feet like wide front and back. They'll buy like a little internet access card, and then they can connect to the Wi-Fi at the shack, and they will play Mobile Legends for 2 hours and just play ranked and kick my ass. and they're insanely good at it. And contrasting that to the fact that their houses are made of plywood sheets and they don't have windows, just cut out squares in the plywood, was baffling to me. I couldn't believe that they were using computerized technology to compete in a video game. And like their homes were like something that you'd see out of a stereotype. It was first of all, the canopy of trees that was there when I was there was like, even if it rains, you're going to be fine. There was a beautiful, lush canopy of trees that was blocking out all that rain. So there was no problem. It was fantastic there. I just thought that contrast was something I had never seen and didn't expect.
Right, that's something you don't see.
Yeah, I didn't see the access to that being so. This is going to be very ignorant of me because I've never been in the home. Obviously, in the Philippines, not everybody lives in a place like that. I'm saying there are places where it's just a house. It's just like it's a one-story house with 4 rooms in it, a kitchen, a living room, 2 bedrooms. They're normal houses. I'm just saying that the ones I did see that were like this, that were the plywood setups, and everybody seemed just fine, and it was like same quality of life as everyone else. It was like, this is awesome that you could do this. So really cool to see that, and I'm glad that esports has reached even more remote parts and societies, places where they're not, going into the city every day for work. They work in their town and they don't really go over to the other side of the island. They don't really go to other islands, but they've got esports. That's awesome to me. I think that is the coolest thing ever, and I would absolutely will always encourage that because it's cool that it's a new way for people to dream. You don't have to dream of being just like a soccer or football, depending on where you're from. I know TJ,
Yeah.
you're a big fan of that sport, so I won't put any insult
I
on
am.
it.
No, you're good.
But yeah, it's cool that you don't have to just dream of having the footwork of Messi and Ronaldo anymore. You can now have dreams of being like, oh, I have two guys from my town that are now professional Mobile Legends player. I'm gonna go out and try to do that too. I'm going to work with my mom and dad, and I'm going to spend my hard-earned money because I live with my family. I'm going to spend my hard-earned money practicing the esport that I enjoy.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy a bag of chips and a bottle of water. I'm going to sit down, and I'm going to practice Mobile Legends. And they do, and some of them make it big, and they win hundreds of thousands of dollars in these tournaments, and it changes their life, and it's the coolest thing to see. So keep dreaming. Esports could be a place for you to be. It's just great, but I really do hope that the investment that they're putting in Saudi Arabia, Qatar, United Arab Emirates, I hope that makes it out to other places, just like Optic is doing in Texas that we talked about, just like Vegas has been doing, constantly hosting esports events out in there. So I'm really excited to see where it goes. I think esports in the next year, I think it's going to change a little. And in the next 5 years, I think it's going to change a lot. And in the next decade, I think it's going to be completely revamped, upgraded. It's going to be an awesome thing to go through. So I think we started everything that we're doing right now, this podcast, our site, everything at a really good time. I'm excited to see where it goes. And just to be along for the ride is really, really fun. And speaking of along for the ride, TJ, next weekend I will be in Atlanta.
Oh yeah.
And by next weekend, I'm leaving in 4 days. So
oh wow.
We will be in Atlanta at HCS. It's going to be me, and it's going to be Jimmy as well. I think that a lot of people probably don't know Jimmy quite as well, but if you've ever seen the unstabilized phone videos that we took during our first few interviews, Jimmy's the one holding the camera. But more importantly, Jimmy is the one who keeps our site up and running, and he keeps the CSS working, and he's trying to work with all of our processes to just upgrade everything all the time, and we're going to keep it going for you. So Jimmy has been a huge help. He doesn't like to be in front of the camera as much, but he is a big fan of esports, and he's enjoying helping us with this. So me and him are going to go down to Atlanta. We're going to be with a couple of people. We're going to have one new person that we will talk about next week. And we may actually have a new guest on the podcast. Unfortunately, TJ will not be with us for this trip, but we are trying to drag him along to Baltimore for the Pokemon VGC tournament. So hopefully TJ will have you there, and we could have you run a couple interviews. Make that. Yeah, that'll be good. But we will be running this podcast from Atlanta. It'll be filmed next Sunday, but it will be posted up on Monday as usual. So you guys, Monday night, we'll have the update. We will, I'll try to cover a little bit of what's going on with the Esports World Cup still, because that'll be continuing. I probably won't touch on a whole lot else, but we'll go through our own experiences at HCS Atlanta. We'll talk about everything that we see. Jimmy and I previously covered HCS Charlotte in 2023, so we do know some of the players and coaches. We've got relationships with them. Hopefully we'll be able to talk to some of them again, but even if not, we're gonna have a lot of new kinds of content coming out that TJ will spice up for you, make it look really nice, and we'll post that up. So you can expect to see good things, a lot of excitement from the venue, hopefully a lot of fun that we will be having down there. Our hotel is going to be like right by the venue, so hopefully we'll be able to catch some of the players, and nothing guaranteed. Very possible that these players are going to be locked in one time, but we'll see if maybe we can get one or two players over to the conference room while we're running the podcast to sit down and talk to us for a while. So we'll see what happens, but may have a new guest secondary host on the podcast next week. Not replacing TJ. TJ is the man. We love you, TJ. But next week might just have guest host for the first time. Have somebody fill in. So we'll see what happens. But we'll introduce you to some new people. Should be a really good week. I think exciting episode coming. Episode 3 already of our podcast is going to be a special event. So that's it. Exciting stuff coming up. Got anything you want to wrap up with, TJ?
I think you've touched on just about everything. Great closer. I'm excited for next week and looking forward to editing you guys' content from that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully, by the time we finish with Baltimore in September, you'll be editing a little bit of your own content. So it'll be
Yeah.
nice to see yourself. Although honestly, I hate hearing myself on camera. I'll never watch I could never edit these. I could never do what you do. I hate hearing my own voice. I hate seeing myself on camera. So I can never do what you do. More power to
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
Thank you for everything you do.
No
You're
problem.
gonna make the magic happen. But that's all we got for this week. So thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you not live, but from Atlanta next week. So thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again.